Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Fantasy Birds. Today, I'm looking at 2023 fantasy basketball. 5 guys I expect to take huge jumps this upcoming season. I'm talking 5 breakout players in fantasy basketball 2023. Let's not waste your time. Let's hop right into these 5 guys that I am looking into drafting that have huge seasons this upcoming year. The first guy I expect to break out is going to be Paolo Banchero, the reigning Rookie of the Year for the Orlando Magic. Now, the numbers were pretty phenomenal in year 1 for Banchero. After being selected number 1 overall in the NBA draft, 20 points, 7 rebounds, and just under 4 assists for Banchero in year 1. The free throw and field goal percentage were the only things really holding him back. Very low field goal percentage and free throw, but that's expected for a rookie coming into the NBA. We've seen guys, as they naturally progress through their NBA careers, these percentages are going to increase, especially for a talented player like Banchero. I'm not really worried about those categories. Nearly a steal and half a block per game for Banchero, so he's giving you okay numbers defensively to go along with over a 3 per game from the power forward position, which is enough in my opinion. But Banchero showed us he has a lot in his game, the arsenal that he has to score from outside, mid-range, and attack in the basket. I want to look at his total points per game from last year. Like we said, he got to 20 points per game. And we'll look at the category he put himself with recent players that have been able to put up 20 points a game. I'm looking at guys like Luka Doncic, Zion Williamson, Joel Embiid, Donovan Mitchell, just in the past 6 to 7 years that have been able to put up 20 points a night in their rookie seasons. This is a very impressive list that Banchero looks to be a part of and join as a year-in and year-out all-star. And if we go back over the past 20 seasons, the only other guys to do this mark are guys like Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Carmelo Anthony. Now, not necessarily saying he's going to be that type of player, but that's the short list that he's joining coming off of this fantastic rookie season where he was able to get 20 points a night. Very short list of players have been able to do that. So Banchero doing that gives me the confidence that he's going to be able to replicate these numbers and improve on that to one day become a prolific scorer like the rest of the guys we just mentioned who are able to put up similar numbers in their rookie campaigns. Now, Banchero is also on an ascending team in Orlando. Guys like Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs. They have other pieces that are surrounding him, so it's not all on Banchero's shoulders. So with the talent surrounding him for this Magic team, I really do like Banchero to keep improving on these numbers and build on a year 1 that was very impressive statistically and to only get better from here on out as Banchero looks to become that all-star type player like we talked about, joining the other guys in this realm that have had similar rookie seasons. So Banchero is definitely a guy I want to be betting on in fantasy to continue on this impressive progression that we've seen in his short NBA career. The second guy I'm looking into having a breakout season is going to be Anfernee Simons for the Portland Trailblazers. There's no secret, Damian Lillard has been traded from the Trailblazers to the Milwaukee Bucks in that blockbuster trade right before the start of the season. Now, Simons was already a pretty solid fantasy player alongside Damian Lillard. Last year, he was posting numbers around 21 points per game, just under 3 rebounds, and 4 assists a night to go along with over 3 threes made per game and a very high free throw percentage at around 90%. Now, the field goal percentage, not very high. It's something to consider with a guy like Simons, but it's also not as low as some of these other volume scores that we see around the league. He's just under 45%, so it's not really killing you, especially when you take into account some of the other statistics that he's able to pile up for you. But the reason I love Simons so much is because of the fact that Lillard is no longer in Portland and all that usage is going to be spread out. And the Trailblazers have already shown that they love Simons, trading CJ McCollum to insert him into the starting lineup to play alongside Lillard. But let's look into what Simons was able to do in 11 games last year without Damian Lillard in the lineup with him. In these 11 games, Simons was putting up 28 points a game and nearly 6 assists. So you're getting a drastic leap in his numbers when Damian Lillard is not on the court. And this is not very surprising given the fact that Damian Lillard was the 4th highest used player in the NBA last year. By that, I mean his usage rating was the 4th highest among all players. 33.7% usage rating for Damian Lillard. So he's obviously controlling the ball a significant amount. And when you take that out of the offense, it's going to open up a ton of opportunities for guys. And Simons is the veteran player in this backcourt. You're looking at guys like Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe, who are, yes, progressing in their careers, but Simons is the guy they trust. He's the veteran player, the leadership on this team. And while I don't necessarily expect him to have those averages he had last season without Damian Lillard, the 28 points and 6 assists, I do expect him to increase on what he was able to do last year, the 21 and 4. I think somewhere around the middle, 24 points a night with 5 assists is a very reasonable and attainable number for Simons. For a Portland team that doesn't look to play much defense outside of Matisse Thybulle, I think you could see Simons rack up a significant amount of points, free throws, and assist numbers with some decently high field goal percentages and free throw percentages given the player profile and the threes to go along with it. I think Simons is definitely a very popular pick to break out in 2023 and some guy I am more than happy to invest in this upcoming year. The next guy I'm looking at to have a breakout season in the 2023 year is going to be Jordan Poole. And it's going to be a lot of the similar things that we talked about with Anfernee Simons for Jordan Poole this upcoming year. Now he relocates to the Washington Wizards coming over from the Golden State Warriors, where there's no secret there were some teammate and chemistry problems to go along with Draymond Green. They didn't really hide that very well. Media was all over the locker room problems that this team was dealing with. But that didn't really hinder Jordan Poole from still putting up some decent fantasy numbers, over 20 points a night, 4.5 assists, and just under 3 rebounds for Jordan Poole. While the field goal percentage was not the greatest for Poole, just around 43%, so he's definitely going to hurt you in that category, and we don't expect that to necessarily get better in Washington, where he's going to have even more shots available. But some of these other categories, we think Poole definitely makes up for it, especially the three-point made. I expect him to be around 3 per night, and the free throw percentage. I expect a considerable amount more of free throws for Poole this upcoming year. And for a guy that shoots near 90%, definitely something we want to be banking on this upcoming year. But Poole last year, the season averages 20 points, 3 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. Don't necessarily tell the whole story because in games without Steph Curry, a much larger sample size than what we had with Anfernee Simons and Damian Lillard, Poole actually played in 26 games without Steph Curry. His numbers jumped from 20 points a night to 26 points per game to go along with 5 assists and 3 rebounds when Steph Curry is not on the floor with him. So Poole, when given this opportunity and the main focal point of the offense, he's able to deliver more for the Warriors. And I think that role is going to be much more similar to what he's going to see in Washington, D.C. for the Wizards. For a team that, frankly, does not have much to work with on their starting lineup. No longer Kristaps Porzingis. Bradley Beal obviously traded to the Phoenix Suns. This team is going to revolve around Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. While it might not be the most efficient play we're going to see, it's going to be a lot of numbers these guys are putting up. Wizards don't have really any defense, so I expect a number of track meets for the Wizards, scoring a lot of points, a lot of possessions for this Wizards team, and that's only going to benefit Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. And I think Jordan Poole is the 1A on this team, given what we've seen him able to do in Golden State when he is the number 1 player. So he's going to be a focal point for defensive teams anchoring down on him. So I don't expect his field goal percentage to necessarily increase, but the volume in play and the usage is definitely going to increase for Poole, and that's why I love his rebounds, assists, and points numbers in particular. And like we talked about, a free throw percentage guy, nearly 90%. I expect Poole to have a significant increase in his free throw attempts, so that free throw percentage could carry him in making up for that low field goal percentage. The next guy I expect to break out is Devin Vassell for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, personally, I love Vassell this upcoming year, but so do the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, they give him that 5-year, $146 million contract. They're telling you they believe in this guy. They're telling you that he's going to have a huge role on this team. I don't see why he's not going higher than he is in current drafts. I mean, last year he was averaging over 18 points a night to go along with 4 rebounds, 4 assists. And we know Vassell is an excellent defensive player, over 1 steal per game and right around half a block per game. So the defensive numbers are good. If he's able to get these percentages up, and I expect that free throw percentage to increase from around 78%, because we've seen him be a better free throw guy than what he showed last season. I expect that to be nearly 80 to 82% this year. This Spurs team could look a lot better with Victor Wembanyama from the draft. I don't need to tell you how great of a prospect Victor Wembanyama is. So with him garnering a lot of attention from the defense, this is going to open up areas for Vassell to improve his overall game, especially on offense. I expect him to hit nearly 20 points a night to go along with those other statistics. And with that defensive rating, I really like Vassell this upcoming year. The last candidate I have to break out in 2023 is going to be Mark Williams, this center for the Charlotte Hornets. Now, Williams, a very talented player coming out of Duke, obviously goes in the first round, right in the middle area for the Hornets. And this is a very valuable position of need for this Hornets team. The only other real centers they have, Nick Richards and PJ Washington, who's really just a stretch 4, so they don't really have much in this front court to give Williams a run for his money. And if you look at Mark Williams' season averages, they aren't that impressive, 9.7 rebounds. But if you look at the last 5 games that Williams played in, the team is heavily investing in him from a minutes perspective, nearly 30 minutes a night over these last 5 games. And he kind of turned that into some pretty good counting statistics, 15 points and 11 rebound averages over these 5 games. So he definitely showed the ability when given the minutes, he's able to put up some pretty solid numbers. For a guy who does give you some defensive numbers as well, nearly a steal and block per game for Williams, I expect that to increase as well, given the larger role we should see from him in Charlotte. Now, we don't want to get too excited about him for a guy who doesn't shoot any threes, and the free throw percentage is pretty abysmal. So in category leagues, we need to tamper our expectations. But in these points leagues, I expect him to be a very solid guy late in drafts to stash, to see what his role looks like in the beginning of the season, and then you can churn that waiver wire for some other guys with high upside. But Williams, I expect to have a large role, given the fact that there's really not much left on this team in the front court. We might see Miles Bridges, but from the center position, it's Nick Richards and Mark Williams, and I think Mark Williams is just a much better and talented player coming out of Duke. So from what we've seen from him in this role, I think it's very likely Mark Williams averages over a double-double this season. And for where you're getting him in drafts, he's going to be a very profitable pick, especially when you take into account those blocks and steal numbers that he's able to give you. And that's not even to mention the upside that he has alongside LaMelo Ball. If they can establish a pick-and-roll chemistry with defenses have to hedge and respect LaMelo Ball's outside shot, this could turn into a very high upside combination for Charlotte. So Williams is definitely a guy I love stashing late in drafts, is a high upside, very low risk player this year. Now that's going to wrap it up. Those are my 5 breakout candidates in fantasy basketball for 2023. We started out with Paolo Banchero, Anfernee Simons, Jordan Poole, Devin Vassell, and we ended it with Mark Williams. Let me know what you think of these 5 breakout candidates. Let me know who you would have had on this list, who's breaking out in your opinion, and if you agree or disagree with the 5 guys I laid out here today. I love hearing your guys' feedback. Let me know in the comment section. We're going to have more fantasy basketball content as we ramp up and get ready for our drafts in the start of the NBA season in late October. So stick around, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you guys next week with another episode of the Fantasy Birds.